Hello, everyone. Andy Jacob here with the DotCom Magazine Entrepreneur Spotlight Series. I have such a great show today. You know, everyone that watches the DotCom Magazine Entrepreneur Spotlight Series, you know that we're always looking for the best of the best. I love products. I love gadgets. I love all kinds of things that not only do great things for the world, but are also good for the environment. And I would tell you, I was in San Francisco recently, and I went into one of the Amazon walk-in, walk-out stores. It's a real interesting store. You walk in with your phone, you walk out, and you never touch anybody, you never even talk to anybody. But it all happens automatically, and they charge your card as you walk in and out through technology and through AI. So I was in the store, and I needed some water. My wife and I needed some water, and we came across this super interesting water. It was boxed water, and it's really unbelievable. The name of it is Boxed Water is Better. So instead of plastic, it was in sort of a cardboard container. My wife and I said to ourselves, wow, this is such a great idea. So of course, because we loved it and we loved the idea, we reached out to the people at Boxed Water is Better. And I've been able to book on the show today, Mr. Rob Koenen, who is the Chief Revenue Officer of Boxed Water is Better. Rob, love the product, and welcome to the DotCom Magazine Entrepreneur Spotlight Series today.
Thank you, Jake. Thanks for having me.
Rob, it was so great. I mean, I walked into the Amazon store. It was the middle of the summer. I was a little warm. I was a little thirsty. I saw your boxed water. I said to myself, wow, these are people that really have it going on, because why would I not buy boxed water all the time versus, buying plastic water? So much better for the environment. So let's pull the lens back to 30,000 feet, of course, and tell us about Boxed Water is Better.
I totally agree with you. I don't think there's ever a reason to buy a plastic water ever again, because there is a choice. So
I love it. I love it, Rob.
So we're actually a small company out of Grand Rapids, Michigan, but we've been around for about 10 years. And our whole mission is to offer a sustainable alternative to plastic water bottles and now aluminum cans. We obsess at making pure water. So the water's got to be great to begin with. We've won awards. We have a proprietary filtration system, 8 steps to make it the purest water you've ever had. But then the real magic is with magic. I guess the real innovation is not putting it into a plastic bottle, but putting it into a mostly paper carton. And then on top of that, we've over the years, in order to do better and better, we've also been planting trees and cleaning beaches and doing all we can to help out the planet. The things that I've learned over the years, I've been with them for about 5 years. But the things that's unbelievable that a lot of people, it's happening underneath our nose, but more and more people are realizing is that, 1 million bottles are made every minute worldwide. 1 million bottles every minute worldwide. 70 billion bottles are used just in the United States. Only 9% of them are being recycled. So that means about 9 million tons enter the ocean or landfills, and it takes 700 years for those to break down. So 700 years is a big number. To put it in perspective, if Leonardo da Vinci had some water, while he's painting, that would still be breaking down today, which is insane when you think about it. And so what takes average 12 minutes to consume should not last 700 years in our environment. And so that's why every day at Boxed Water, we're trying to just get people to be aware of the plastic pollution problem, and then, frankly, reach 6 inches over and pick up one of the paper cartons because it's so much better.
Rob, it's really awesome. You have such a great social mission. You're the first national company to really offer a sustainable alternative to these plastic bottles. The water, I never knew water could taste so good. There must be something you're doing with that water, because compared to what I was tasting in the plastic bottles, your water just tastes better. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, thank you. That's very kind, and I agree. And it is crazy. Water, like anything, has a taste to it. And So there's different types of water that's out there. Some companies like Aquafina and Dasani, they actually manipulate their taste of their water by adding different materials, in some cases what's called a dissolvable solid, and salts, and so you definitely have a taste to it, and they can manipulate it. We don't do any of that. Next time you're looking at in the water aisle, look at how many bottles of water have ingredient labels. We don't have an ingredient label because it's just water. It's been purified 8 times through reverse osmosis. There's some UV light steps that also helps take everything away. There's something called oxidization that also removes any impurities. And yeah, you get water that's super fresh. Now, some people will take a second to get used to, because some people are coming from water that's so manipulated that they're not actually used to drinking pure water. But like anything, you get used to it because it's so good and it's so good for you.
I love it, Rob. It's so interesting. I never really thought about it, but when you go into the store and you pull a plastic bottle off the shelf of water, nobody looks at the ingredients. And I think I'm going to go today to look at the ingredients because it's so fascinating. Your water, of course, boxed water is better, is water. And that's what you want when you buy water. You don't want all the chemicals and the additives or anything else that these other companies are putting in their water to try and create a taste, which is very, very fascinating. Now, Rob, you have a great social mission at the company. We want to talk about that a little bit, but people watching the show, they're going to say to themselves, wow, Rob and his team, they've been able to get this boxed water into, the Amazon stores, which Andy spoke about earlier in the show. I mean, you're everywhere. So what's that distribution channel look like? How did you get so successful with boxed water is better being everywhere under the sun right now?
Well, we still, thank you for that, Jacob. We still have a long way to go because it's a David and Goliath story. We're up against big plastic and big soda. But yeah, it's basically based on consumer demand. The more people that are requesting and asking, the more places we get placed. But think about it. You next time you go to the store, please look at the ingredient label, but also just take a stop and look down the plastic aisle. It's mind-boggling. And if you go to one of these superstores, you'll see pallets of plastic stacked up. And I always say that we've become plastic blind in this country because we've all grown up with it. We're all used to seeing it. But I was sitting with a buyer at a marketplace, and he said, "Listen, Rob, I love your story. I love everything you're doing, but you got to realize 90% of my profits come from the plastic. It's so cheap. There's so much margin in it." And this was a few years ago, and it's funny because that person finally came back and said, "The bottom line is people are demanding paper. People are ditching the plastic, which is critical." Now, if it's not available in your local area, I would ask you to do 3 things. Number 1, ask for boxed water is better to the manager. Ask for it by name. Say, "Hey, I would love to have boxed water is better here. Can you give them a slot?" Number 2, go to boxedwaterisbetter.com or Amazon. I mean, people say, "Where can you find my water?" I always say right at your doorstep. You can have it delivered. And so much stuff is delivered these days. By the way, our packaging, we don't use any plastic in our packaging. It's all cardboard based. It's all renewable materials. We take painful efforts to make sure that we're using renewable materials everywhere we can. Even the plastic cap is actually made from a tree-based oil. So it's a plant-based cap. This thing is 92% plant-based as opposed to aluminum, which comes from bauxite, which is not a renewable material, and plastic obviously comes from oil, which is not renewable. So that's a long-winded way of saying you can find it at your doorstep. Definitely find it at Amazon. You should be able to find it at your local store. And yeah, the more you buy, the more the retailers will start giving us a little more shelf space because we are up against these giant companies and this established area, but boxed water is better is definitely making a change.
I love it, Rob. Hold the boxed water up. Normally I wouldn't do this, but listen, when I saw that box in the Amazon store, I said to myself, yes, boxed water is better compared to the plastic. So it's such a great marketing sort of approach you have. It's great branding that you have, Rob. Let me ask you a question, okay? Because my wife and I, we watch the YouTube videos and of all the plastics that are in the oceans and all the landfills that are filled with plastics. I mean, when you see some of these shows and they show how much plastic is in the ocean, to be honest with you, when Kristen and I watch those shows, we have to turn it off. We're so disgusted with it. It just really hurts us inside to see what's happening to the whales and the mammals and the marine life and the reefs and everything else in our ocean. So when you think about what you do, Rob, and you wake up in the morning with this company, doing what you're doing, benefiting the earth, what's that feel like? I mean, is that like a real special way to get the pep and the step going in the morning, knowing you're helping the world that we live in?
Oh my gosh, most definitely. I love this job. I love this job because we are a challenger brand. Boxed Water is a group of young people, not much younger than me, but young at heart. And every day we're looking, what can we do better? And I'll tell you what I really love is seeing these films, these documentaries on YouTube and on Netflix and whatnot. Really can bring you down. But what I look forward to every day are the people who are talking about this. When I was a kid, we never talked about the environment, about Earth. We were blind to all of this. I am so refreshed that over 70% of people in America want to buy something that will pay more for something that is sustainable, that is better for the Earth. That was never a consideration for us. But what else I love is you called it out. I call us Fiji without the guilt. And by that, I mean, we're a high-end premium luxury brand. The design is beautiful. We've actually become kind of a fashion statement. A lot of brands like AG Jeans and Rag & Bone, they use us in their showrooms. They use us because their creative directors came and said, we're sick of seeing Fiji up and down the aisles of our fashion shows. Let's stop going through plastic. And the other thing that makes me super excited, and I'll give you another example. So we just signed up with Alaska Airlines, which you're familiar with. They have led the way and have decided to get rid of the plastic bottles that they serve on their airplane. 8 ounces at a time, they go through 1.5 million pounds of plastic. Insane, right? And this is going to cost more. Unfortunately, plastic is great. It's cheap and it's durable, but it's obviously terrible for the planet. So they stepped up and said, we're willing to pay more to do the right thing to make sure that we get rid of plastic. So anytime you fly in Alaska Airlines, you'll find some boxed water to be able to drink. And by the way, it's also refillable. So I always call this like my sustainable refillable. I'm sick of leaving behind my Yetis at the hotel. So every time I travel, I just bring this through TSA and then I refill it on the other side. And then I'm drinking all week.
I love it, Rob. It's really great what you've been able to accomplish. Now, something that's very interesting to me is a lot of people believe that we live in what they call a celebrity culture. Yeah. And I can't tell you, you watch TMZ, you look at, what's going on online. We're finding, and we're seeing now that we've sort of been exposed to boxed water is better. There's a lot of celebrities walking around with this boxed water is better in their hand, and the paparazzi, pick them up, walking around with those cartons. And they're doing really some great marketing for you because people follow the celebrity sometimes. And of course, everybody wants to be so conscious of being sustainable. So, Rob, when we think about sort of world domination, which is where you're going with this company, can we find it in other parts of the world, or is it primarily in the United States right now?
Primarily in the United States. We are focusing here now. We plan to expand internationally, but for the first 10 years, we really have just been pushing uphill to get people to realize that plastic was bad. It's really been in the last 3 or 4 years when people started coming around and plastic pollution became a hot issue. So now we're starting to look in other areas. Like you can find us in some places in Mexico, obviously Canada, but we're also we're experimenting with a few other regions.
That's great, Rob.
And you're right about celebrities. I mean, celebrities want to be seen with us. There's a lot of what we call plastic shaming going on. But the other thing that we believe here, we don't pay celebrities any money. That's not our bag, because we have a project that's called You Post, We Plant. And what that means is anytime you post a picture of our box on social media with the hashtag Better Planet, so just hashtag Better Planet on your Instagram feed, picture of the box, we plant 2 trees in the National Forest with in conjunction with the National Forest Foundation. Together with the National Forest Foundation, and because of the community on social media, we've planted over 1.3 million trees in our national forest, which is again, what we say is the trees are our celebrities. We're not going to pay celebrities, but we will pay for the trees. And it's been a beautiful experience, because not only have people rallied on social media, and they've created this website and this community that's beautiful. I would encourage everybody just to go and look. We've got mothers and fathers showing their kids about sustainability by doing this. We've got artists who've done wonderful things with the box. So there's just like this vibe going on social media around this. And every time it's the easiest 2 trees you've planted. Having said that, we have had celebrities like Ellen DeGeneres come to us and say, hey, I like what you're doing with the water. I want to get plastic off of my set at the Ellen show. And at the end of the day, I want to work with you because you guys plant trees. And, there's been conversations. What I love about the conversations is, yes, most of the time it starts with, you should compost this water because we're going to give you exposure. We had the conversation with them saying, you know what, we appreciate what you're doing, but we don't give anybody anything for free. We would want you, because we want you to be authentic. We want you to have skin in the game. So we want you to pay, we'll give you a discount, but we want you to pay so that the money that you use goes to, again, our celebrities, the trees. And that's what I have so much respect for so many of the celebrities who've come around to do that, because they get everything for free. But with us, they go, nope, I love your mission. I'm going to give you some of my money.
I love it, Rob. Well, this is amazing. And for the entrepreneurs watching this show, rewind what Rob just said. I mean, that really is such a brilliant plan about planting the trees and having people put the photos up on social with the hashtag. It's incredible what you can do with a product or a service when you really think about what people want and what their needs and desires are. This is almost what I call a mini MBA event. I mean, you go to Harvard, you sit in the class, you do case studies with the professor, you give your answers. Half the room is, having a different answer than the other half of the room. The answers are never right. And they don't have their feet firmly planted on the ground at Harvard because of the fact that they're in a classroom. But when entrepreneurs get out in the real world, you got to think outside the box. And that's no pun intended, of course, with the official, with box water is better. I just thought of that, thought on my feet for a moment. But listen, Rob, this is very interesting because you're an entrepreneur. Your team are a group of great entrepreneurs. I want to take this conversation and move it to entrepreneurship a little bit, because so many people are going to be watching the show and they're going to say, well, Jake was at the Amazon store. He saw this box, water is better. He reached out to the folks. He wanted to have them on the show. You're doing so many great things. You've planted so many trees to change the environment. Your whole business model is based on being the best premium water that you possibly can be, which is, interestingly enough, is just water, but it's great water. And then you don't put it in plastic. So it's incredible. Now, for the entrepreneurs watching the show, Rob, that maybe are going through their journey and having a tough time. Maybe they're hitting a roadblock or a wall that they can't get through, or they're having a tough time visualizing getting through. Maybe you could give some insight or some positive motivation or some action steps that a younger entrepreneur can take to get through some of those tough times in their business as well.
Yeah, well, that's a great, gosh, there's so much. I guess I'll start with a couple of things that you just said. Being an entrepreneur is getting the MBA of hard knocks. So everything that you're learning is going to make you stronger. I'll start with that. The second thing I'll say is whatever you do, protect your reputation. You're only as good as your reputation. You're only as good as your word. People want to work with people that they like, that they respect, and that they know will come through. So as long as you keep coming through, and I'll give you a great example. I mean, the last couple of months, we've had tremendous demand. We've had our supply chain issues, and we've had some shortages along the way. And the bottom line is that we've been able to stay the course. We've been able to move some product around, and what it comes down to is we've had to shortchange some people. We've had to, in order to get it to some other groups. But what has come out of this is it's not a great situation for any of us. But I can't tell you how many customers have said, "Listen, you guys went the extra mile for us. You didn't have to do this. We are going to stick with you. We know you might have shorted us a little bit here, but we understand why." And as long as you're still working with your customers and you're genuine and you're authentic, you can do anything. And then I'll tell you another thing, because I do believe, and I've given speeches about this, because I'm an old school marketer. I've worked at Timberland, at UGG boots. I've worked for 30, 40 years in the industry. If a brand doesn't do something to help someone, you're not going to make it in this world anymore. So when I grew up, a brand could basically show aspiration pictures of beautiful people, and I wanted to be like Mike, and that was enough. Well, consumers these days, they demand more. They're sick of being over marketed to. They want to know where their money is going. They want to know if I'm going to give you my dollar, I want to make the product's good. The product's got to be good to start with, but I want to know what you're doing with your money. And so we sat down, and I think anybody at any company, no matter how big or how small, you sit down and say, all right, what do we believe in? What do we stand for? How can we help? What do our consumers believe in? What can we do to help them? Because we have a platform to be able to do this, and then work together. It doesn't have, we pick trees, and we've done ocean cleanups with the Ocean Blue Project, but obviously there's so many different ways that you can help as a company, and brands now are become a platform to change, to help. And I think you hit the nail on the head. Again, if you're a young entrepreneur, our company wouldn't be around without the tree planting initiative. We would just be another little white box in the corner. But Boxed Water, people come to us because of our mission, because of our purpose.
I love it, Rob. It resonates for me. And of course, you're known and your team is known as being a world-class team all the way through your entire organization. You have great people. Before I let you go today, and of course, thank you so much for slicing out a certain amount of time for me today. I think I've kept you over, but I have an additional question, because I know you listen to your customers. And one thing that's kind of come across the desk as I was researching your company after trying the great boxed water in the Amazon store was now you are into flavored waters a bit, and you've got some other things like mixers. And I would imagine that came from people saying to you, Rob, we love the water, but is there anything you do? Let's get some flavors in these waters, and let's talk about that a little bit. How's that going, and how do you see that progressing for the company?
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you. And thank you for noticing that. And everyone, go to boxedwaterisbetter.com. You can learn so much more about what we're doing. The stuff I talk about, I call it nerdy cool, because when you start talking about it, it's like, oh, wow, that's fascinating. I didn't know that about plastic. I didn't know that. And it is actually fascinating, and it's stuff you don't think about. But you'll find all of our flavors there. We just launched flavors this year, totally exceeding our expectations. They taste great. We came out with blackberry, lemon, grapefruit, and cucumber. And honest to God, I love them. And to be honest, we waited. We've been around for 10 years. Consumers have been asking two things primarily. When are you going to switch the plastic cap, which we finally were able to do? That took a lot of innovation to figure out how to get this from tree oil. And the second thing was, when are you going to get flavors? And we had to wait until we felt like there was enough common knowledge about paper versus plastic, and frankly, aluminum cans. The big companies are trying to tell you that aluminum is the way to go, but it comes from a non-renewable resource. But we waited till there was enough consumer demand to start saying, you know what, water is great, but here we're going to give you a variety. We're going to give you options for different parts of your day. And as we go forward, we're looking at, energy drinks. We've teamed up with Art of Tea, the best water with the best matcha. You can buy the matcha online. And again, they have a great environmental story as well. So that layering on of sustainability also allows you to find like-minded partners to work with. So yeah, the best is yet to come, I think. I think we're on the cusp of something enormous where actually boxed water becomes more common than your typical plastic bottle.
Rob, it's unbelievable. What a trajectory your team is on. So remarkable. It's a great story. Everybody's talking about it. I can't wait to walk into my local grocer and say, hey, where's the box water is better? Let's get that in here. I mean, let's bring it in. Everybody's going to buy it. So, wow, what a great story.
Ask for it by name. I'll tell you one other thing that's cool. One of the hotels, we just ran a little test. We did a horse race where they sell water, and when you check in, we outsold the plastic bottle 3-1 with our box. So yeah, go to your grocery store and say you got to get this in because it will sell.
I love it so much. It's amazing. And Rob, your company has unicorn written all over it. Billion-dollar company for sure. It's just you're changing the world one boxed water at a time, and it's really awesome. I wanted to take a minute, first of all, to thank you for coming on the show. It's been a real honor to have you, Rob, but also to let you know that we really appreciate what you're doing. I mean, the planting of the trees by putting up a photo on Instagram. What's the hashtag people should use on that, Rob?
Hashtag Better Planet.
And why not? Better
Planet.
Yeah, I love it, Rob. Well, listen, it's been a real delight to have you on the show. I can't wait to try the flavored water. My wife and I love cucumber, and to hear that you have that flavor is really exciting for us. So, Rob, thank you so much for coming on the .com Magazine Entrepreneur Spotlight Series today.
Thank you. This has been a blast. I love it.